Howdy, it's Kyle talking about fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Viewers of this channel know that Vegas is not exactly one of my favorite big cities in the country. In fact, I posted a video talking about it being my second least favorite big city in the country, behind only beautiful Orlando, Florida. But honestly, since then, I would say Vegas has taken the cake. It's now my least favorite big city, and not because Orlando has gotten better, but because, in my opinion, Vegas has gotten worse. So here I want to talk about some of the problems going on in Vegas right now with the economy, talk about some of the things about Vegas in the first place, why I don't like it, but then go over why some of the problems going on right now might eventually help some of the things about Vegas that lead it to be a city I really don't like. So I'm going to go over a little bit about some of the current problems in Vegas with its economy, and this isn't going to be a video focusing on that, but you may have heard about tourism being down in the city between 10 and 15% year over year. Fewer people are showing up, and the people that do show up are spending less money while they're there. Fewer conventions, just everything about tourism in Vegas is down. Well, when the economy is down, that's the first thing that's going to happen. Tourism is going to be cut first, because if you're hurting for money, the first thing you're going to cut from your budget is something travel-wise, something that's not going to be considered vital. And with Vegas type travel, that's the most frivolous tourism of all. You're going to go somewhere to literally blow money. So Nevada is often the canary in the coal mine for recessions and just things going on with the economy, because Nevada is always the first state to go into recession, always the last state to come out. It's so dependent, again, on that kind of frivolous tourism. And so right now, unemployment's up, economy's down, housing's starting to go down a bit in Vegas. And we all know the reasons why that's going on. Vegas is just insanely expensive. The last time I was there, I could not believe just how expensive things were. So $10 to $15 bottles of water, resort fees, all that kind of stuff that just makes it insanely expensive to spend any time there at all. I think our last time there, 4 days in Vegas, was more expensive than my 3-week trip to Senegal and the Gambia, which is absolutely insane, but true with how expensive Vegas has gotten. So that's not the point of this video, to talk about that stuff. There's plenty of stuff out there talking about the downfall of Vegas. Vegas is dead. It's dying. The economy's down right now, but it's not dying. So, but I do want to talk about how that could possibly be good, because the city is so heavily dependent on tourism that maybe other things have to come up, the city has to come up with, because when tourism is bad, you need something else. It can't just be gamblers. Whenever I talk about my favorite cities, it's because of walkability and neighborhoods. I like to be able to get around the city pretty easily on foot, not have to drive everywhere, but also have a lot of really interesting independent neighborhoods with local shops and restaurants, not your typical strip malls and shopping centers. I also think it's important for a city to have a nice downtown or central business district, and with Vegas's economy being based solely on gambling tourism for the longest time, downtown was again that as well. So you've probably seen Fremont Street experience, or maybe you've been there, and that's the heart of the city. That's where your normal business corridor might be for other big cities, but so you don't have quite the same finance and banking type things going on downtown and some of the high rises that you have in other big cities. So I get that the downtown is going to be different there than other cities, but if you're a local, you're probably not going down to Fremont Street. It's certainly not the Strip very often. So you want to have your own kind of neighborhoods to go to that you can kind of get away from the tourists, but also have things that are more interesting to locals, again, such as some of these local restaurants and shops, and not strip malls and big shopping centers. So in Vegas, there are a couple of neighborhoods that are trying to do something to make them more urbanist, right in the middle of the city, largely between the Strip and downtown. And one of them is called the Arts District. And this is how it sounds. It's an area where you have some galleries and some shops largely oriented towards the arts. And this is, again, right between the Strip and downtown. So it's in the heart of the main city of Vegas, and an important part of the town for people who live there or for visitors. So as such, this is the best part of town to gentrify into a cool type urbanist neighborhood. Before, it was kind of empty warehouses and shops, kind of some machine shop type thing. So a good spot to redevelop. So this is how it looked in 2016 before some of the redevelopment, and this is how it looks now. And although this is certainly something, it's better than it was before, it also feels like they could have done so much more with this. Main Street through the Art District is the main street, so you do have some interesting local shops and restaurants there, but it really only goes on for about 2 blocks. And again, for what this is, it's okay, but also this is a huge city of almost 700,000 people in a metro of over 2.5 million, and this is the main street, the kind of cool part of town. And this was less than 10 years ago where they were doing some of this development. So I would think in this day and age, when you know some of the great urbanist practices, some of the things we can do, you could have done way better than this. Okay, another project that the city started to do that maybe would be a cool urbanist development was Fremont Street East. So again, Fremont Street is that well-known street right downtown that's closed off to cars. It's gone up and down through the years. It can be cool, it can be kind of lame. So I think it's okay right now, but Fremont East is an actual normal street where you drive on just east of the part where you can't drive on. And this is just another spot, kind of like Main Street, where it's just one block of a handful of cool shops and restaurants, but that's it. And one block away is down to this regular old crappy downtown Las Vegas. And then you have something called the Cultural Corridor. It looks pretty cool on a map, right? There's got to be some pretty cool things there. Well, this is how the Cultural Corridor looks. This is where you have the Children's and Science Museum and a Performance Arts Center, which are pretty cool things to have, but this is the Cultural Corridor for Las Vegas. And then my personal favorite new development over the past 10 years in the Vegas area is downtown Summerlin. Summerlin is a pretty wealthy part of Vegas at the western end of the city going into the mountains, and this new development, downtown Summerlin, was expected to be this big thing in this wealthy area, to be this really cool urbanist type neighborhood. Well, here's what they did. It's a master planned community, and this is what they did with it. They had a blank slate and a ton of money to do all kinds of stuff with it, and this is what they did. It's just another cookie cutter corporate shopping center that every other city in the country already has. And look at the satellite image. It's almost entirely parking. And even when you pan out farther, it's still just almost entirely parking. And they actually had the audacity to call this thing downtown Summerlin. This makes the Virginia Beach town center look like downtown Chicago. See, look at these big projects, again, just in the past 10 years, downtown Summerlin, the Cultural Corridor, the Arts District, and it's almost like they're trolling people with these grand names of these big promises for neighborhoods. They're just really half-assing everything, and the city is too big to have just stuff like this be the best thing the city has to offer. I mean, cities significantly smaller than Vegas have way more interesting urbanist type development, way more interesting arts district, just more interesting cultural corridor type things than what you have in the best parts of Vegas. So why is that? Why are all these developments in Vegas seemingly being half-assed and not really all that terribly interesting? Well, it's because nothing in Las Vegas gets done without the casino's approval. So the casinos run Las Vegas. They run the entire state of Nevada. So they want you there in the casinos. They want you there on the strip, drinking those $20 beers, getting drunk, so you're placing dumb bets. Any minute you're spending at some other cool neighborhood is a minute you're not spending gambling. So the casinos don't want the arts district to be really cool with pedestrians only and just lots of cool galleries and markets and just really fun stuff that other cities might have, because you would go there and then you're not going to be gambling while you're there. And if the cultural corridor was really cool, a lot of cool museums you could walk between, and there was maybe a park there and other kind of stuff, that would be something you would take you away from the casinos while you're not spending money on the strip. So as a result, I don't think Vegas is really trying that hard. I'm sure the people that live there would love for these arts districts and the downtown Summerlin to actually be something worth visiting. But again, they're kind of handcuffed by what the casinos are going to allow. So that's what I want to circle back to, like corporate, talking about how maybe the downturn a little bit in the economy due to less tourism could maybe help some of the urbanist aspects. So maybe the city will realize, okay, we can't just have gambling. We still want tourism. We want people to come here. We're still going to be a tourist-based economy, but we can get people like Kyle and his wife to come here, but go to things that aren't the casinos, because we don't really care about that. But as long as the casinos are controlling everything, everything is on the payroll of them. So you're not going to get these really cool neighborhoods. So, but maybe it takes something like tourism to decline before the city and maybe the entire state of Nevada realizes that, because the same thing was with Detroit and the state of Michigan, where everything was the automotive industry, and it still is largely automotive. But at some point, Detroit and Michigan had to realize you have to have something else besides just the automotive industry. West Virginia is kind of in the same boat with coal. You can't just have coal, so they're not doing anything to improve that either. But I think Vegas, people are still moving there. It's growing more now than it was in the 2010s, or at least the same rate. So people are moving there largely from California or other places to get to cheaper cost of living and lower taxes in Vegas. So they probably do want some of the cool, urbanist type things. Because I don't think many people that live there habitually go to the Strip, do they? I mean, if you're from Vegas, let me know in the comments how often you go down to the Strip. But I've known plenty of people that live there, and they almost never go there. So I think Vegas is certainly big enough. Again, 2.5 million people in Clark County. It's more than big enough to have cool neighborhoods in different parts of the valley, the Las Vegas Valley metro area. Comparable cities of size can still have a fun type thing where just tourists go to, but then have other spots where the locals can enjoy local restaurants and shops and not have to see a bunch of stupid tourists. And what might be an indicator of things happening in the city without the casino's consent is the new Vegas Art Museum opening up in 2028. Vegas is the biggest city in the country that doesn't have an art museum. I mean, there's something called the Art Museum, ARTE. That's a interactive multimedia display. It seems really cool, actually. But in terms of a normal art museum, it doesn't have one. Well, why is that? That's because the biggest art collections in the city are currently at the Wynn Casino at Caesar's Palace. So if you want to see the nicest art on display, it's at a casino. So the city actually having a real art museum off strip, nowhere near the casinos, is a pretty good sign that the city is actually doing something that the casinos probably don't want. So those are some of the things I wanted to talk about in regard to Las Vegas. And I know it was a bit of a rant. I don't normally do videos like this, but I often talk about how I don't like Las Vegas. So I wanted to go over why that is, and also talk about some of the downturn in the economy and tourism right now and how that might affect some of the things I don't like about the city. But if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up to let me know you approve, and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in learning more about geography from a nerd, usually stuff that's more academic oriented, not so much of a rant commentary like this. But yeah, thanks for watching. Geography King signing out.